What kind of things have been going on, seeing in the city of Anderson this year?
Well, I think probably, again, positive momentum, I would probably say from the residential side. There are a lot of planned homes that have announced that they will be building probably in excess of 2,000 residential homes over a period of time. That's exciting. It just means the city is growing. I think
Is there a milestone for population they're trying to hit, or is it just?
you know, not necessarily. I mean, we don't want to grow just for growth itself. That creates sprawl, and we don't want that to happen. We have annexed some property that makes sense from our point of view when we can service it from police, fire, and public works, and so we've done that. And so we have a lot of infill development. We talk a lot about the opportunities that are present without expanding the boundaries, and that's happened too. When you start looking at contractors who are buying 2 and 3 lots within the city, 2, 3, 4 lots, and redeveloping or building new homes, that's a sign of positive growth too.
And you've had some new businesses open up. I guess one of the most notable is Up on the Roof is up and running full speed.
Yes, that is has been a lot of compliments on it. A lot of compliments. If you hadn't been there yet, it's the deck of it is 7 floors up above our second public parking garage, public space. So you don't need an invitation or reservation to go check out the views. The restaurant itself has been getting rave reviews. I have gone there frequently, and our council members have too. I think it is a unique venue for our city, and it will continue to attract other things as we go forward.
And fall will be a really prime time for that.
I think so. I've been this will be, I think, the first year we've had the combination of the hotel and the rooftop venue, and I would think that would probably be, it's going to be one of my favorite places this fall to watch a football game.
Any other downtown businesses or city businesses that come to mind?
I think about the bistro that sometimes so many things are happening so quick. It's pretty hard for me sometimes to capitalize that it happened in 2023. But the bistro has been a positive effect on that side of the Central Business District, the north side, obviously with Magnetic and the park. And it's my impression that all those rooms or spaces there in that building are occupied. You have an ice cream shop, you have a couple of hair salons, and some other, an escape room, and so that's been a very positive thing. We continue to have more retail activity. If you hadn't been to the Common House, I think you should check out that building. They did a great job in renovating that building and keeping its integrity with coffee, food, adult beverages, and so I think that is a very good space. I'm continuing to talk about eating. I know Taco Loco relocated to Benson, and next to it is the Thai restaurant, which is excellent, and so continuing to bubble up on the mixture of residential, retail, the Loss, the Southern Hartward building is 100% occupied, and with young adults and dogs, and so it again brings a vibrancy to our downtown.
Anything else you'd like to see come downtown?
I would, if anybody's listening, I think we need a bakery, something alongside fresh breads and sweets, and when I go to another town, just visiting and I would like a bakery. I think that is, we don't have one. I mean, we have some coffee shops and Figs, of course, that do a multitude of things, but just a bakery I would love to have. And one more wish, a butcher shop. I would love to have a butcher shop downtown. I just visited one for a second time in an upstate city that will be unnamed, but I think that's a good niche to have in a downtown. So I'm saying I would like to see things that we don't presently have.
I think there's a butcher shop right on the edge almost of downtown coming in there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
the
so.
old Bill's Restaurant, I
Yep.
believe.
Yep, I hope
supposed
so.
to be.
So
This is the second year of return of the soiree. How would you review how it went this year?
the weather again was perfect. The volunteers worked very hard. As a city, we provided some of the infrastructure that helps things like that happen. But I couldn't be more pleased with it. I think we had record crowds again. It seemed like everybody enjoyed themselves, and so we're looking forward to a third one next. I mean, the 3 in a row with good weather.
When the city is providing that infrastructure, the electrical outlets and other things allowed y'all to have a lot more stages and music and stuff this go round on the.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think I was on the tail end of the volunteers who put the last soiree on, and infrastructure is a big lift for people who are volunteering, and so as a city, if we could. And we did. We took that heavy lift off of the volunteers. They still have to do what volunteer committees do, and they have to plan and book and and vendors and food vendors and artisans, and they still have to do that. But at least I think we were able to take some of the heavy lifting off the soiree.
Any other changes planned for Carolina Wren Park? I mean, I'm just curious. Is anything?
I don't anticipate any. The more I do in this position, I peek at downtowns a lot on the weekends and just traveling. And we had our municipal association annual conference in Greenville this year, so we spent a few days down there. Greer, Spartanburg, other cities in upstate, and I still think that we have the most attractive downtown venue in upstate South Carolina. It just does so many different things. We have the splash pad along with just attractive outdoor seating for concerts and plays. Plus we have the Wren Pavilion next to it that is rented out for weddings and private parties. And so it sits right in the middle of our downtown, and I don't know how we can improve on that. So no, I don't think so.
And it's used a lot too.
It is used a lot. I mean, it's a public space, and I see more people having lunch, doing a lunch break, workers that are living down or even working downtown. So it's used a lot.
And that green space next to it makes it even more extensive and nicer.
Oh, for sure. Yes. No doubt about it. We continue to work along our recreation master plan, and we're checking a lot of things off the list. We talked internally early in the year where when you start, we might be at the end of that checklist. So and I say at the end, we are hopefully in 2024 we'll start the Lindley Park, which I call just the lower half of Lindley Park, that will take care. We moved the ball fields. The new ball fields at the rec have been opened. Just a beautiful venue there. It's always pleasing to see how you can. Looking forward to the first football games, youth football games there this year. How you transform that from baseball to football on the turf, and so that allows us to go forward with Lindley Park, the engineering, and I think the actual bidding of contracts will happen before the end of the year, and so we'll start going on that. So that kind of checks that box. We've also are looking at Cadiz Lake. You know, we've got some preliminary plans on just enhancing Cadiz Lake. We have some, I would say, stormwater issues that we need to take care of. But you know, just conceptually, the whole idea of making that venue better. So that checks another one off the box. And so we will need to now. Obviously, those plans take years to come to a point of construction, and it'll take a couple years after that. So we'll be looking at other recreational opportunities for our city.
About the trail system, where are we at on the trail system?
You know, with that Lindley Park, that
Right.
of course increases the trail from the third of a mile that we have that will take that park eventually to B. Thompson Park. Now, we continue to hope that we have federal help dollars, grants that might help us jumpstart the rest of our plan. We've been very public about that, and you can find our plan on the City of Anderson's website. It just, you know, seems like, you know, everything takes a long time, and so, but funding is key. Very proud of the United Way, Imagine Anderson under the United Way umbrella, have engaged in a Anderson to Belton feasibility study so trails are important. I just got a compliment a couple of weeks ago of a fellow that lived in my neighborhood. Said he was so happy to be able to park at the Civic Center, jump on the trail there, drive it all the way down the Parkway, and connect on the other side of the NMed parking lot. And that's I mean, and that one's taken a while too. I mean, it has 3 pedestrian bridges that connect over some waterways on the Civic Center, and 2 on the other side of Greenville Street. But if you hadn't walked that one in a while or biked it, yeah, I would estimate that it is probably a total of 7 or 8 miles where you could either park at NMed and ride to the Civic Center, or walk to the Civic Center, or run to the Civic Center. But you know, that's a big thing that our community started working on years ago.
And eventually, the plan is for Lindley to connect to that. And
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a plan. It just takes money, but I think that Lindley will connect to that. That the boulevard will connect to the Lindley Parks. You know, the Rocky River Conservancy will connect to the trail. So I mean, I think the advantage is that most of it is within the urbanized area.
Speaking of taking money, where are you on the engineering plan to repave Main Street through downtown?
You know, we get that one a lot. State Road, number one.
Right.
And, you know, we paved half of it when we did the magnetic part of it. And it's a little bumpy. But, you know, we always work with DOT and our county transportation partners, and they've been very good working with us. And so hopefully, I always say soon, but sooner than later.
Roads are just a challenge for all of us.
That's a challenge, everything. I think probably, you know, the way we get ahead of this is through getting behind our county partners on the referendum, and that would be on the ballot in 2024. and so that's how other communities have gotten through the backlog in roads. And you know, we increased the gas tax. The state increased the gas tax 4 or 5 years ago, I think, 4 years, and they have obviously had to concentrate on interstates and bridges, and which was the right thing to do. Now we see that they are going and supporting rural communities. They just announced a big project of replacing, I think, several bridges in Union County, which is the right thing to do. But to control our destiny on main streets and other streets within the county, urbanized area, I mean, I think we really have to understand that would come through supporting that referendum.
Let's talk about public safety for a minute. As you add all these new houses and this new growth, is the city police and fire going to have to grow to meet that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And public works, and we know that we'll need a Station 4 as a fire department point of view to cover some of the growth that we anticipate in the northern part of the city. So,
Have any guess where that might be, or too early to tell?
I would think that it needs to be somewhere north of the city, and you know, and whether that is because that's the growth. I mean, that's our growth. I mean, we have our main fire department. We have one on North Main, and we have one at the health campus on Simpson Road. And so we have explosive growth north. And so it's got to be somewhere. The police chief tells us that it has to be somewhere north of the city.
So they'll probably be hiring more policemen and firemen,
Yes.
firefighters?
Well, yeah, I think we are anticipating that. And so you want to be ahead of that growth. And so both chiefs have done a good job in anticipating that growth, along with our public works director, which mainly is not only people but equipment. You know, and you've got to buy more equipment when you expand your city. And so we have been very intentional about buying equipment based on future growth. Well, I think probably in the fall we are still looking at making sure that we not only have growth in downtown but the entire city. We have some, seems like we talked about food a lot, but you know, the Culver's is opening on Greenville Street, and that should be open soon. The building looks great. They were good. I understand that we worked very well with them planning and their folks on how that looks, and so we're doing that. We also have a Whataburger on Main Street and Whitehall Road, and
There's going to have to be some traffic rerouting right or something.
One of the issues is that intersection, and they've been good to work with on that. I would say probably we are still working on our comprehensive plan, and probably the biggest pieces of the first part of that we thought that we need to take care of because of growth were a tree ordinance that has been passed, and also even looking to the future, a sign ordinance which was recently passed. And so we'll be looking at different things in that comprehensive plan that kind of changes our Unified Development Ordinance, our UDO, but just planning for growth, and looking forward to some of the other segments of how our community feels and looks, and how subdivisions feel, and how traffic is. I mean, you know, so we've got to look at all of that.
Are you making plans now to do anything different for Anderson University having football, or because that's not as far away as it seems?
No, I mean, August the 24th will be here before you know it. And we have, obviously, I think the whole community has put their hands and arms around the AU, in general AU. I mean, they have a record crowd of freshmen, 1,000 freshmen. They're the largest private institution in the state, and starting football program this fall. So they have 90 some odd new athletes on campus this fall. Looking forward to some of the activities that go on with that. But for us, on game day, that puts, I don't know how many people they will have in the course of a football game, but that puts a certain degree of responsibility on us for public safety. And so we're looking at that and working with their security in regards to how do we fit all of that in. And that's, I mean, the growth of the university has been very impressive. And to have a university in our downtown area is impressive too. And it's also a challenge to control that growth. I mean, we have residential communities that surround AU, and so we want to be good partners and make sure that we help them achieve their goals of having a successful athletic program.
And the city has a lot of partnerships with AU, right? Y'all work closely
For
together
sure.
on.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to work with your legacy institutions. You got to work with our county, our hospital system, our universities, our public schools districts. We have 2 city high schools and a number of middle school and elementary schools, and so you've got to have an open line of communications to make all that work.
City Council is being redistricted. There's been redistricting going on.
Yes.
That process sort of begins like today, I guess.
Yep.
And just explain why that's happening and what people can expect just in general, not specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening because of the 2020 census. And so we've talked a lot about growth and patterns of home living. And so when you have a growing city and growing county and a growing state, our state now has a little bit over 5 million people. We picked up 1 congressional seat this year. And so as all of that happens, it kind of trickles down from a state level to a local level. And so every municipality has had to look at the growth patterns. And this is about, this isn't something that has not been done before. These are things that we have to follow voting right acts. We have a number of case law things that are applicable to growth. And so what has happened is we talked about the growth of the northern part of our city. We talked about, I talked about a lot of growth in the northern part of the city, but with planned residential development of planned homes within the next 10 years, we have to anticipate the growth of the southern end of the city. And so that's put kind of a pressure on the lines. And so, it kind of gets back down to one person, one vote. And in Anderson, we have 2 minority-majority districts, and that's important to comply with that because there's a lot of case law that goes into that. And so we've had our state departments that help cities and counties with this type of redistricting. We looked at 4 versions of it, and tonight it will be an agenda item on new business for us. And so anytime anything grows, it changes. We have 6 wards and 3 at-large positions, and so the wards have had to make some adjustments based on that population growth.
And it be in place before the municipal elections, Anderson, in April, right?
Yes.
So it'll be in place before that, whatever.
Be in place, and that's another thing. We're like on the deadline because we've got to be considerate of voter registration. We've got to be considerate of possibly changing polling precincts.
So that's 6 months out, right?
Yeah, and so we got enough time. Mayor Riley or Charleston said, if you're not growing in Terrence, you're dying. And so, but you know, we've got to manage that growth, and we want Anderson to be Anderson. We don't want it to be Greenville, Spartanburg, or anywhere else. We want it to be us.